What's up everyone out there? Welcome back to another Addicted Fishing tutorial. My name is Jordan 𝗛𝗟𝗣 and today we're talking about how to catch trout in the middle of the summertime. We're gonna go over 2 different styles of fishing for trout in the summer. So if you guys wanna learn more about how to become a better angler and catch more trout, stay tuned, it's coming at you right now. So summertime means 2 different things for trout. 1, it's a lot warmer, and 2, there's usually a lot less water. So what we're gonna start off with today is talking about a trolling series. So if you're in a boat, then we're gonna take you guys to a creek or a river, and we might even go to the bank and show you some bank techniques for a lake, but we're gonna fish 2 different styles of bodies of water. 1 being a lake, 1 being a creek or a stream. And the main thing, if we're talking about a lake, that's what we're gonna start off with today, that you're gonna wanna look for. 1 is cold water, and 2 is depth, and those kind of go hand in hand. So we pinpointed one section of the lake that has cold water coming into it. So you wanna go for the feeders of that lake, the areas where the cold water is still draining in and it's creating a different atmosphere and it's creating a lot colder body of water than you have out in the middle of the lake on the surface where you're going to have that warm 70+ degree water. So the key to that is to focus on depth in those cold areas. You want to be anywhere from 20 to 100 to 150 feet. So downriggers could be very important here. But I'm going to go over 3 different methods that I like to use here right now, and then I'm going to show you how each one of them work as we start to troll here. So one of my first methods that really is a good deep method is running some sort of dropper setup with a dodger. And what I have here is I have a 2-ounce dropper set up on a sliding swivel with a little bead in line to a little barrel swivel. I'm going to go about 2.5 to 3 feet down to a Brad's Dodger. And then I'm gonna go about another 2.5 to 3 feet down to a Brad's KCP. And what these things are great for is any sort of trolling. You can cast and retrieve these, but I like them a lot because we're actually gonna add a little bait to the inside of that, which I'll show you in just a minute. I'm gonna show you my second method now. Fairly similar, just a little bit different setup. This is actually on one of the Magnum divers that they make. This is another Brad's product. This is a Brad's Mud Dog diver, the Magnum. So this one gets down to about 20 to 30 feet depending on how far back behind the boat you have it. I have another 2-foot leader down to yet another mini KCP. And these things are great. They come in a bunch of different colors. They have a really great action as they spin in the water. And once again, you can add bait to them. And I'm gonna add a little bit different bait to each one of these and see which one works better. The last but not least method that I like to use when I'm trying to fish deep is the same thing, that Brad's Mud Dog with about a 4-foot leader down to a little Brad's Mini Wiggler. Silver and black is probably one of my favorite. There's a lot of different colors that these guys make, but we're just gonna stick with this one today, for example, and I'm sure it's gonna work. So same diver setup, getting it down to about 15, 20, 30 feet, down to my little wiggler, same with that KCP. So let's put these things in the rod holder, let's get these KCPs baited up, and let's get on the troll. So one thing I really like to do with these little KCPs that Brad's makes, the nice part is they come with this little rubber band here. This one's the rotten banana color, one that works really good. All their colors work, I'm not gonna lie. Every single Brad's color that comes out works really good for any style of trout fishing. They come with these little scent pads in them, so if you're just gonna add scent, you can use those little scent pads and keep them in there, but I'm not gonna use those today because I'm gonna actually add some bait in there. What we have here are some coon stripe shrimp. You can use any kind of prawn or any sort of shrimp, whatever you can buy from the store, whether it's an Argentinian or just a straight up raw prawn. But today I'm using these little coon shrimp. And for some reason, we'll never know, just about every body of water in the US has some sort of shrimp species in it, especially lakes like this one here. Anything that's deep, that's dark, and that has a lot of fish in it and a lot of nutrients is gonna have some sort of bait shrimp in that lake. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just use that little piece of shrimp, I'm gonna throw it right in there, and then I'm gonna put that little band on. And that's gonna add a lot of scent. It's gonna give that meaty flavor and that smell. It's gonna have that scent trail trailing behind it the whole entire time. So that one's ready to go. So my other KCP, I'm gonna add something a little different. And it kind of shows you how diverse these things can really be. I'm gonna open that thing up. That one's already cleaned out. I had some prawn in it last time I was fishing. I'm just gonna take a little power egg. This is a garlic scented power egg. And this is the fun part of this. I can even use normal power bait. I can use whatever I want to put inside that thing and just shut it up, close it up, and you'll constantly have that scent coming out of there. So I'm gonna add those two little garlic balls in there. I'm gonna pinch that closed. I'm gonna add my rubber band. Now that one's ready to go with a completely different scent, totally different color, entirely different bait presentation, just like so. Let's get these in the rod holder. Let's get the kicker going. Let's start trolling. So as we start onto our troll here, you guys can see our graph. And not all of you are gonna have the luxury of having a depth finder like this, but you can see we're in 50 to 100 to 200 feet of water. We're starting to run these ledges. We have these underwater ledges that are running outside of the inlet of this lake. So all this water is getting flushed into the lake, and all this water coming in is cool, probably around 45, 50, 60 degrees. Everything out here in the middle where we're fishing is 71 degrees, but that depth is going to change the temperature as you go down in the water column. So choosing something deep around 25 or anything over 40, 50, 60, 70 feet and around these ledges where there's going to be those different temperatures is what's going to make you very effective on finding where those fish are. So now that we've said that, now that we've found that area, I'm going to zoom back in so I can see where we're going. And I'm going to drop my stuff down. You can see the proper speed is going to be important with this setup. You want that dodger just slowly fluttering back and forth, and you want that KCP doing those nice slow little rolls right behind it there. And that's what's going to give us the perfect presentation. So I'm going to drop this thing down. So each time I lift my tip and fall, I'm going to say it's about 10 feet. So I'm going to go from here to the top, from the top of the water all the way up. There's 20. I'm going to let that fall down. I'm going to go about 30. And let's go about 35, and I'm going to set that one in the rod holder here. Now with these divers, it's going to be a lot different. These things are going to have to go a lot further back behind the boat to properly get the right depth. And so what that means is the max depth of this diver is right around 25 to 30 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this thing back probably about 100 feet back behind the boat at least, and you're just going to guess that. And again, by lifting up all the way up above your head and letting it fall is usually about 10 feet. So I'm going to go 50, 60, 70. That one's ready to go. Now, last but not least, my other diver with my KCP. And this is going to be the same idea. We want this thing pretty far back behind the boat. That way we're getting a nice dive. So now that we've locked all our stuff in, we have all our stuff down back behind the boat, we know we're in deep enough, you want to start picking lines through the lake that are going to be along structure and along those depth lines. You want to be finding an area where it goes from shallow to deep, where there's going to be that mixture of temperature. That shallow water is going to be warm, that deep water is going to be cold, and those fish are going to be traveling through those areas and cruising those areas looking for that difference in water temperature because that's where their bait's going to be. So now that everything's in place, it's all about troll speed. As I look over here at my dodger, you want that nice steady thump. You don't want that thing doing a full 360 rotation. And if you see that thing just thumping and thumping and thumping, that means you're going too fast. Same with these divers. These divers will signify the right speed. If these things are digging and diving and they're planing off to one side, you know that those things are going too quickly, you're trolling too fast. But if they're down at that nice steady motion, they have that nice repetition, that nice thump, we know that we're fishing the right depth and we know we're going the right speed. Oh, fish on. Fish on. There he is, everybody. I believe that one's on the diver and the KCP. That feels like a good one. So we made a big turn, started headed back into the lake, and I think it was our troll speed that really mattered there. You'll find a lot of times in situations like this where you have a lot of wind, your speed will be differentiated by that wind, and in the summertime, of course, it's usually windy out here on the lake. Ooh, this feels like a good one. Ooh, this feels like a really good one. He's diving deep on us, guys. He's, whoa, whoa, he's submarining us. And this was the KCP that had the power eggs in it. So this is the garlic flavored KCP here. Ooh, that is a good flippin' trout. There he is. There he is, everyone. What a great fish. Look at this thing. All right. First one of the day. What a great fish. Look at that thing. So there it is. Diver, little mini KCP that was on the orange sparkle with the power eggs in it. All righty, fish number one in the boat. I'm gonna let him go. Thank you, little guy. Make sure you get them, if you're gonna be letting these fish go, which a lot of you addicts out there probably won't be, make sure because of that warm water to let them revive. Make sure they swim away, make sure they don't just turn belly up. Let them swim back down into the lake, make sure they're good to go if you're gonna be releasing them. So that was the one. That was the orange sparkle KCP here with the little power eggs in it. They like that garlic scent today. Let's get these back out, let's keep trolling. So one thing I was already noticing, and which is a very easy way to make a change and become more effective, is by watching your dodger presentation. I just noticed that I could see that dodger, even with about 100 feet of line out, I could see it flashing back there. So I'm gonna go from a 2-ounce weight to a 3-ounce, and that's gonna get me further down on the water column. Now we've made it out to the part of the lake that's about 200 feet deep. So we want that thing down there at least to about 50 feet where that water temperature change is gonna be different. So I'm gonna change from a 2-ounce to a 3-ounce lead and see if that helps this dodger presentation. So you can see as we start to come up these ledges here, we have these different marks coming up, and you can buy these charts on your apps, on your phones, any kind of navionics or different stuff like that. See, we're already up to about 75 feet. So now that we hit that, I'm gonna go laterally with these lines, with this 100-foot line, and I'm gonna start working this one depth. And the way you can start in the morning is by starting at that 60, going to that 100, going to that 120, 140, 180, and start working your way down that line, working each one of those ledges and working your gear at different depths. Oh, there he is. Oh, let it go. Dodger just got hit here. And you can see here, as soon as we hit that line, we hit that 130-foot depth mark, and we started running right along parallel with the bank, instantly got hit. Let's keep an eye on these other rods. Oh, there we go. Fish on the wiggler. On the wiggler. So you can see, again, each method has its own place in time. We hit a 70-foot mark. We started working right back along with this ledge. And what do you know? Oh, he's a jumper. He's a jumper. And it goes to show you that having multiple methods out and not being a one-trick pony when you're out here doing this can really help you catch more fish. Having a diver with a wiggler, having a wiggler out by itself, having just a cast master back behind the boat, having a KCP with a flasher or any other sort could really, really help you find more fish this time of year. There he is. What an awesome little fish. Look at that. There he goes. And there he went. But you can see how well using a couple different methods can work for you. You can see the difference that I did here too. One thing that I've noticed a lot of times is that when you have both these hooks on these little mini wigglers, you lose a lot of the fish. So I removed that front treble hook, and because of that, it brought it all the way to the boat that time. Okay, so one more method to prove. We got one on the diver and the KCP with the little garlic balls in it. We got one on the diver with the mini wiggler. And now we need to get one on the Dodger with the KCP. And we just got bit on it, but let's keep trolling. Let's see if we can get one more fish on this last method. Then we're gonna switch scenes and try some different style of fishing. There he is. Think he's still there. Little sure was excited about it. No sooner just got done talking to you guys. Looked over and the Dodger presentation was just getting hammered. I think it might just be a little one. We'll see if he's still there. I can't tell. There's a lot of weight behind this one with that 3-ouncer on there, but I think he's still there. Oh yeah, he's still there. Oh, just came off right at the boat. That's okay. We're gonna drop it back down because we know it's working. Oh, there he is. Got him. Got him. There it is, everybody. On the Dodger. Knew it would happen again. This one's swimming right at me. Oh man, he's a fighter. He's a fighter. Once again, I just got to that little pinnacle. I found a little outcropping here where we had this little point. Started to see him on the depth finder. They were went from about 115 to about 60 feet. And as soon as our gear matched up with that and made it all the way up to that little pinnacle, wham, got hit instantly. There you have it. Not the biggest fish in the lake, but it is a fish nonetheless. Beautiful little guy. Absolutely perfect little fish. Ow, mother. Ow, mother. Well, aside from a little bit of bloodshed, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We did the old rappy-do trick, and my camera guy here, old trusty camera guy, pulled the hook out of my finger. But, points proven. The KCP with the Dodger works awesome in the summertime. So we're gonna throw a Band-Aid on, we're gonna head to the creek. Let's show you guys a whole different style of fishing and how to catch these things in the middle of the summertime. All right, now we're back and we're in a completely different setting. We were out in the main lake earlier and we're in a big body of water that a lot of you might be fishing in the summertime if you're out on a lake. Now we're on a river setting, a river or a creek or a stream. Any other kind of place with moving water is also a really great place to target trout in the summertime. The couple of methods we're gonna show you now that we're on the bank is this here, one of my very favorite. These are very easy, very fun to use, and very, very effective ways to go out and target trout. So the first method I'm gonna show you guys here from the bank is a spinner setup. I have an ultralight Okuma rod here, 2 to 6 pound. It's about 7.5 feet long. I have a 2 to a 3000 series reel, Okuma or whatever make. I like Okuma. This is a 20-pound addicted enforcer braid. The high vis line can work really well for this because you can see it and it helps you pinpoint where you're actually casting. I have a little bumper tied on here of 8-pound test to the end of that with a spinner. And this is a little gold and black Panther Martin, one of my very favorites, but I'm gonna open my box here and show you a variety of different spinners that will work for this. So we have all kinds of different, we have rooster tails, we have cast masters, we have little Clio spoons, we have all the different kinds and colors of Panther Martin, and of course, the old-fashioned 𝗪𝗥 spinners as well. Each and every one of these is very valid to have. Having a good variety of colors of spinners and sizes will make you a better trout fisherman because it'll allow you to key in on that certain bite with whatever kind of body of water that you're going to be fishing that day. So, I got my spinner rod set up here. Let's step over to the river and let's show you the method of fishing this. So the thing about a spinner is it acquires a very reactive and very aggressive bite from the fish, which works really well in the summer because the water's warmer and the fish are more active. So they're more prone to chase down that spinner presentation and bite it ultimately. The nice part about the spinner is how much water you can cover. And what I mean by that is you can start at the top of a run or at the top of the creek and go down and cast behind every little piece of structure that you can find. So a good pair of polarized glasses and a good rod with that high-vis line will make this a lot easier on you. So I started up here at the top of this run, and I'm gonna start working my way down, going close, middle, and far, casting behind each little bit of boulder and structure that I have, and then continuously moving down the river. So I'm gonna step in here, start fishing, and let's see if I can get one on the line. So my first cast I'm gonna make nice and close. Keeping my tip low, slowly reeling that thing, because the worst part about the spinner fishing, I will say the only con to it, oh, I had one fall on it right away. The only con to the spinner fishing is how much gear that you can potentially lose if you're not correctly fishing it. So you can see how each time I cast that out there, I have my tip low, I'm letting my spinner blade spin nice and slow as it comes across the strike zone, and I'm reeling only enough to make sure my blade is spinning. That blade spinning is what attracts those fish. So if that thing's going through there and you don't have that blade spinning, you're not reeling quite fast enough, you're not gonna get as many bites. So doing that nice, slow, and steady reel, making sure you're feeling that vibration of that spinner blade and swinging it across with your tip low is what will make you more effective. So now that I made a couple casts, I'm gonna take a few steps downriver here. Now I have another piece of structure. I have this big rock out in front of me, all this water pushing in towards the bank. That's where I'm gonna make my next cast. And a lot of times with the trout, they're very aggressive once again. So usually I don't ever give a spot more than about 2 to 3 casts. So you see I made my close, my middle cast, and then I made my far cast out into the center of the river. And now after that one, if I don't get a bite, I'm gonna keep moving downriver. So a couple nice things about fishing the spinner presentation. One, it's very effective in how much water you can cover. As you can tell, we've only been here about 10-15 minutes and I've already made it almost 100 yards down the bank and casted behind almost every piece of structure that there is. Haven't got any bites yet. So the key is to keep changing. So I've gone from my golden black spinner to my silver and chartreuse. And you can see it's same presentation, same kind of spinner, just a different color. This one's a little bit heavier. I'm just gonna get me down a little bit faster, but it's a great way to be able to change up quickly. A nice little snap swivel or something like that can make it even easier on you, but it's a great way to change up quickly and be able to get right back in the water with a completely different presentation here. Okay, we've made a change. Let's get back out there. Got him, got him. Oh, came off, darn it. Darn it. See, a quick little spinner change, a little bit of color change, a little bit of a size change, instantly got me a fish. Dang it, he came off pretty quick though, so I'm gonna get it back out there. Maybe he'll bite it again. We're getting down in the sweet zone now. But as you can see, being able to cover this much water and move around quickly will allow you to get in front of more fish ultimately, instead of standing on the same rock, making the same casts over and over and over. A lot of times these trout don't move very far. There's times of the year like this when there's a lot of insect life and a lot of food for these fish that they don't need to move at all. So you need to move to them. Sometimes a trout won't go over a mile within a week or so because they don't need to. They're in their feeding lane, they have that food coming to them, they're expending very little energy and being able to eat and survive without doing anything in particular. Oh, I lost him again, dang it. Can't hold on to these things today, you guys. Can't hold on to them today. They're just hitting it and shaking me off. Got him everybody. On the last hurrah, got him. Yes. Stay on there, little guy, stay on there. Stay on there. We need to just take a little picture with you and send you home. All right, everybody. The dog got in the way there a little bit, but as you can see, the spinner also works fantastic for these little trout in the summertime. That one just crushed it. It took a little bit of a spinner change, took a little bit of a color change, but we covered a lot of water, moved through a lot of different structure, and eventually found one that wanted to fully commit. So using the spinners, moving around, keeping that close middle far presentation and making sure that blade is spinning will help you catch more fish in the summertime. So let's let this little guy go. Let's go grab our other method and we'll show you one more thing. See you later. All right, so the next method I'm gonna show you guys is the addicted fixed float and microworm setup. This honestly has to be one of my favorite for fishing these small creeks like this. Anything that has moving water, any super small body of water, this works fantastic for. And really it's my favorite because you get to watch that bobber go down. And it really, really works. So I have, again, that 2 to 6 pound, 7.5 foot Okuma Salilo. I have a 3000 series Okuma Kaimar on here with, again, our 20 pound addicted enforcer braid. I have our addicted fixed float system. This is made by Mustad. This is the trout series. These aren't out quite yet. These will be available for you guys. Depends on when you're watching this video. But we also have our steelhead series, which will work just as good, so don't stray away from those. But this is a fixed float system. These 2 rubber grommets fit onto the line. It slides up and down so that you can adjust your depth, and allows you to go up and down to put yourself right in the strike zone. On my main line here, on my bumper line that I have connected to my braided line, which is a 10 pound test, and I tie that on with a blood knot. You guys can look up on our page all the different knots that you need to know to do this kind of fishing. And I have 3 little tiny split shots on there just to add a little bit of weight. And those are just inline split shots that I crimp down, a little barrel swivel. I have about 3 feet of 8 pound test down to my 32nd ounce jig head, little black one, and one of my little microworms here. So I'm gonna show you here, I have my box set up here with all our different colors of our addicted microworms. And these things are very effective, even if you're fishing for steelhead. They're very effective for trout. You can catch salmon on them, but really they're just a great tool to have. So you see all the different colors. We have our oranges, pinks, black, we have our light pinks, we have our bubble gums, and that's what I'm gonna go with today. I'm actually gonna grab a new one out of there. This might be one of my favorite colors, along with probably the orange, and really I bounce back and forth. If one's not working, odds are another one will. So even if you are catching fish on one particular one, it's good to, before you leave the hole, throw a different color in there just to see if you can attract a different kind of bite. So I'm gonna go with the bubble gum here because it's my favorite. And the way I'm gonna put that on my jig head, so I'm gonna take my hook, I'm gonna run it. I like to try to find that little line from the mold that thing has on it right down the side there, and that's gonna be my indicator for where I'm gonna put this. So I'm gonna stick it right through the head, put about, 1.5 inches to 2 inches on there, and then I'm gonna stab it through the main part of the body of the worm, and I'm gonna slide that right up the hook shank. And you wanna make sure to do just that amount where it's about 2 inches. So we got about 1-2 inches or so. That way that you have that little floppy tail back there giving you some action, and that's what's actually attracting the fish. The jig head color is not as important. I like to go with black a lot of the time, but just a plain lead color jig will work just as good. So there we are. My addicted fixed float, that slides up and down my line, adjusts my depth, a little bit more weight added with those split shots, barrel swivel, down to my little microworm. So let's cast this out there. Let's show you how to fish this bad boy. So the way you want to fish a float setup, whether you're using any kind of bait or whether you're using these little microworms, is when you're fishing moving water, I like to work my 45-degree angles. So I'm going to make my cast upriver at 45, allowing that thing to fish all the way down to me. As that's happening, I'm reeling in that slack. Once it comes past me, I'm going to open my bail and let it get a natural drift. And that's why that braided line can be so important, because it allows you to sit up on top of the surface of that current and allows you to get that mend and allows you to have that nice natural drift without any tension from the water pulling your bobber around, ultimately pulling your worm up off of the bottom. So I'm gonna make my cast 45 degrees upriver. I'm gonna land that in the water, and I'm immediately gonna close my bail so that I can reel up that slack that I've created by casting upriver. The reason for that is if that bobber goes down while it's at that 45-degree angle upriver from you, it's gonna take you 10 or 12 cranks to catch up to that thing to finally come tight and allow yourself to set the hook on that fish. So now that it's made it past 90 degrees in front of me, I'm gonna open that bail and I'm gonna start letting that thing just slowly drift down below me here. I'm gonna get kind of killed by this glare of the sun here. Obviously it's summer. I'm out here sweating my butt off, sitting in the sun, getting blinded, but you're getting the hint of how well this stuff works. So now that I did that, I'm gonna use the same method that I was using with the spinner. I'm gonna keep moving, keep changing locations and fishing with my feet, not just letting my bobber float to no man's land down into the river. So I'm gonna make one more cast here, and you're gonna utilize that same mentality, that close, middle, and far. I'm not gonna just cast as far as I can every time and let it float as far past me as I possibly can, because I wanna be effectively fishing the water that's right here in front of me. That way I can get a good hook set on the fish and ultimately land it every single time I'm hooking one. Okay, fish that little bit of a riffle right in front of me. I'm gonna make one more cast way out there in front. Hit that big boulder that I hooked one out there in front of me. So I made that close middle far cast. Now I'm gonna walk downriver about 10 steps. Rather than with the spinner method where I was moving downriver just about every cast, I'm gonna make 3 to 4 to 5 casts with this bobber and then take a bigger length of steps downriver, right about to where I'm reeling in every time. So I'm gonna take about 10 steps downriver. I'm gonna work that same method, close middle far. One thing that's very important when fishing this setup is that you keep moving your depths up and down. You could be just out of the strike zone a lot of the time with this light setup because the current catches it, it'll actually carry it up in the water column and keep you out of those fish's face. So the way I like to make my adjustments when I'm moving this is by bobber lengths. So as I'm fishing here, see I'm fishing about 3.5 feet. I'm guessing it's about 4 to 5 out there in the deepest spots. But this is a great method for fishing around big structure like this. I have a lot of big giant boulders out here in front of me. I couldn't necessarily drift fish down the bottom or swing a spinner through there super effectively and actually get in those little zones. So this works great because it goes up and down and it works its way through that big structure. So what I mean by bobber length is as I go deeper, I'm not gonna add a foot or 2 feet when I go to try to change depths. I'm gonna make very small, precise depth measurements. So I'm gonna go from here, I'm gonna move it about a bobber's length deeper. So about a good 4.5 to 5 inches. There we go, to at a whole bobber's length, and that's my gauge on how much I'm moving each time, is I use about the same length as the bobber. So let's see if that does anything different for us. The way you're gonna be able to tell when you're actually on bottom too is one, that bobber is very sensitive. It'll start getting pulled under and it'll be leaning down river if you're ever touching bottom. The way you know that you're not on bottom is if it's standing straight up and down or if it's pointing upriver. If it's pointing upriver, odds are you're not fishing deep enough. There's too much current sweeping your stuff up and it's keeping that bobber pointed upriver because you're not down in that zone where those fish are gonna be. Go a little bobber's length deeper once again. All right, everybody, so we've worked our way all the way down to the end of the tail out here. And again, this is a great method to cover a lot of water. I fish all the stuff that we just fished with our spinner here, but a lot of times I would say you wanna use the worm setup before you use the spinner setup. Have that kind of method to it where you're not attracting or scaring off all the aggressive fish with that spinner setup and almost clean up with it. So start with the worm, then fish the spinner. But we're running out of daylight here, but we're gonna jet and find another hole and try to get one more fish on this method because I'd really love to catch a fish on every method we show you guys here today. So stay with us, let's go find one more spot. Okay everybody, we found ourselves one last hoorah spot. Mouth of this really beautiful creek coming in, nice cold water. I'm gonna get this worm out there, see if we can't find one more fish for you today. So I'm starting on that in close, of course. I'm gonna go close, middle, and then far. I'm starting at about 3 feet deep. I can't really tell how deep it is out there today in this spot particular. I've never really even fished here, but I'm just working my way through. I'm gonna start at about 3 feet deep. I'm gonna slowly make my way deeper and deeper until I find bottom here. All right, everybody, well, I couldn't do it for you. If you want true testimony on how well these micro worms work, go down to the link in the description and check out our how to fish micro worms video. I swear they are one of the most effective methods, but today we just ran out of time. But I want to thank you guys for being here to join us and being along for the ride. And I hope you learned some awesome and fun new methods to go out and target trout in your local area this summer. If you guys want to see more awesome videos just like this and more how-tos, go up here and click this link to this next video. Go down, hit subscribe, turn your bell notification on, give this video a thumbs up and comment below, and you can be the comment of the day just like this person right here. Thank you so much, everybody. You stay fishy and we'll see you out there.